What's up, everybody? Welcome to GoJo and Golic. Michael Jr., Michael Sr. Holding it down in the Boston studios at DK headquarters. We got a great show for you guys today. As always, make sure you download, subscribe, rate, review, leave us that 5-star rating. Check us out on DraftKings YouTube, DraftKingsNetwork.com, and Samsung TV Plus. Awesome guest list coming up on the show today here. Courtney Cronin, ESPN Bears reporter, going to join us here in a few minutes as Chicago has become the center of the NFL universe for a variety of reasons that we're going to get to. We're also going to hit some NFL news and notes with the Athletic senior NFL reporter Diana Russini in just a little bit. We are brought to you by Wrangler. Made for the ride of life. Save 15% on your first Wrangler.com order with promo code GOJO15. And Dad, it got real at Hallis Hall on a variety of fronts yesterday. We will get to what's gone on with Alan Williams, their now former defensive coordinator, when Courtney joins us in just a few minutes here. But we knew the way they had started the season, there was going to be some frustration with this Bears team. And it boiled over yesterday in some comments by Justin Fields that were taken a bit out of context, but also I think ultimately represent a mistake by a young player in front of a microphone that he quickly recognized.
Yeah, what in the wide world of sports is going on with the Bears, at this point? It's horrible. And well, Justin is finding out, as you're going to hear, of maybe how he's going to handle it going forward. But he was literally really trying to answer questions and explain, his answers to the reporters when, I have always been of one to be very boring and to the point where maybe they don't even want to talk to you anymore by not giving them any information. But he went on and really explained, and I think he kind of tripped over himself in there. I don't think he went down the road he meant to go, but he just kept talking. And I think it eventually led there to what normally happens in this situation as far as, headlines anywhere, it all gets shortened to Fields thinks there's a problem and it's coaching. And boom, that's it. And that's what everybody is like, oh my God, what did he say?
Yes, that's the headline that everyone ran with after the first couple of the games of the season, where we looked and we asked questions on this show about what the Bears' game plan was. A quarterback like Justin Fields only having 5 designed rushing attempts through the first 2 games of the season. How does that happen? What is the plan? That's for us to say. This was Justin Fields, the Bears' starting quarterback, when asked about why he feels like he might not be playing as fast and as loose as he needs to be out there on the field.
Of course, things that I didn't like, I felt like, I wasn't necessarily playing my game. Felt like I was kind of robotic and, not playing like myself. So, my goal this week is just to, say F it and just go out there and, play football how I know how to play football. And that includes thinking less and just going out there and, playing off of instincts rather than just of, so much, so to say, info in my head, data in my head, and literally just going out there playing football.
When you say thinking less, what do you think was causing you to think so much, maybe think too much?
Could be, coaching, I think. But, at the end of the day, it makes it, they're doing their job when they're giving me, what to look at and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I, can't be thinking about that when the game comes. I prepare myself throughout the week, and then when the game comes, it's, it's time to play free at that point. So, just thinking less and, playing more. I don't think it's too many coaching voices, but I just think when, you're fed a lot of information at a point in time and you're trying to think about that info, like when you're playing, it's like it doesn't let you play like yourself. You're trying to, process so much information to where it's like, if I just simplified in my mind, I would have did this. Like I saw a few plays on Sunday to where if I was playing like my old self, like we would have had a positive play. Like there would have been, a few more third down conversions. So I think that's the biggest thing for me is just, playing the game how, I know how to play it, how I've been playing it my whole life. So that's what I got to get back to doing.
I assume you talked to Getsy, Eberflus, somebody about what you're saying right now?
Yeah.
And how did that go? Like, what was their input on whether you were being a little too robotic or maybe trying to account for too many things instead of just playing freely?
I mean, it was good, but, at the end of the day, it's like, shoot, the conversation was good. I'm just going to keep that private, to be honest with you, and, just like I said, and just go out there and play.
Dad, this sounds like the classic phrase that we always hear, paralysis through analysis, right? When you're a player and you've got too much going on in your head, you don't play fast and free. And Justin Fields was trying to, I think, explain that point. You heard that soundbite to me sounds a lot different than the snippet we all saw. Rarely do I just fall back on, well, this was taken out of context. But truly, it seemed like we took the one-word snippet that seemed the most damning in this. And to be clear, Justin Fields got to own his words. He's learning that now as the head of this organization, what he says in front of the microphone is going to have big ramifications and make problems for everyone inside that building if he's not careful. But the overall sentiment is, hey, the coaches are doing their job, giving me a lot of information. I've got to do a better job sorting through that, using what's necessary, and then going out there and playing fast and free.
So, first and foremost, in being in this business for a couple of decades, I have done this as well. You hear a soundbite before your show that goes on, and you're like, oh, wow. And then you realize if you hear the full, not just the 20-second snippet and a couple minutes of it, you're like, okay, that wasn't really it. And I agree with you that, and he, I'm sure, now figured out he spoke too much in trying to explain it. But let's get down to the root of this. The root of this is there's a disconnect, right? There is a disconnect with Justin Fields, who is uber talented, who is basically admitted there, I am having trouble digesting the playbook, right? I mean,
I'm having trouble digesting the way information is being conveyed to me.
Right, I'm having trouble.
There's a disconnect between what he needs and what the coaches are giving.
Let me put it this way. I'm having trouble digesting the information fast enough to make me play how I want to play on the field. So what's the answer to this? Is the answer, giving him less on his plate? Is the answer he needs to learn more? He needs to be able to learn to process the information that he's getting quicker? Because as we've always said, if you think for a split second on the field, you're done. You're at any, I don't care what position it is, you're done. And that's basically what he's saying is, I'm thinking, so I'm not me. But I will say, and you said how many it was, 5 this year? And I did some Bears games last year, and each time I commented on, I cannot believe they're not trying to free him up and run him a little more. So to me, what I take out of this after we get past all what he said, should he have said it, how he said it, is there is an incredible disconnect there that needs to come together if you want to get the best out of Justin Fields, and it has to come from both sides.
Yeah, I think that's it. And that's why this is extra frustrating, I'm sure, for me and Bears fans, because I've already seen a lot of Bears fans are writing Justin Fields off, saying that this experiment is over. They made the wrong decision in the draft. What's it going to look like upcoming this year? I still look at this and go, the sentiment we always had when Matt Nagy was there was this offense was fighting what its quarterback did best.
Yeah, exactly.
It seemed to actively put him in situations that weren't designed to cater to a young player's strength at a time where more coaches in the NFL are doing that than ever. So now we're getting to this new staff. We think, okay, Justin Fields is a little bit more their guy. They went through the flirtation around the draft, but they made the choice. This was going to be their dude. They went out and got him a number 1 receiver in DJ Moore. Let's go to work on this. And yet through a couple of weeks, it still feels like there's a bit of square peg round hole here.
So I think what you said really kind of hits the nail on the head, how it used to be in the NFL. No matter your ability in college, you were coming to the NFL, they were going to teach you the pro level. And so, which didn't have to do with college, you would have to change your way to fit into the NFL. And as Mike said, and he's right, coaches are now saying basically, hey, all right, we have this talent. Let's let this talent flourish and build around it. And it doesn't feel like they've been doing that with Justin Fields. Again, I think there's blame on both sides of this, but Justin's the one on the field. You have to make it as comfortable for him on the field. And if that means for Luke Getsy to change up the way he's doing things to let him feel more free and do what he wants to do, I think that's something that they're going to have to really think about doing.
And that is going to be the goal for this team. Now, give Justin Fields credit. He also did go back into the locker room yesterday after that happened. And you know, this to me was, but it was a somewhat encouraging sign, right? Where he recognized right away, oh, this is how this is being perceived. I've now created problems for others. And this was Justin Fields in the locker room doing a bit of damage control not long after that press conference.
You guys' jobs are to get clicks, so it's like when you take my quote out of context and when you just say that, if you paint the picture on the inside out, like y'all are trying to split us up as a team. I'm not blaming anything on the coaches. I'm never going to blame anything on the coaches, never going to blame anything on my teammates. I will take whatever happens in the game, I will take all the blame. I don't care if it's a drop pass, it should have been a pass. Put it on me. But never will you hear anything come out of my mouth to where I will blame it on somebody else. In this organization, my teammates, never will you hear that. So I just want to clear that up and just know that, like, I need to play better. That's it, point blank. If y'all, that's what I should have said in the first place. But, you know, I was trying to give y'all more details because, you know, I appreciate y'all for doing what y'all do. And I try to give y'all the information y'all want for you guys' job. So I'm going to do that. And in the future, like, but I ask you guys just to put the whole quote out. Don't cut it up into words and pieces to make it seem like I'm saying something that I'm not. So, again, appreciate you guys, what you do. And y'all, that's it.
And, Daddy, that's a good reminder that we can talk about intent and what Justin Fields is meaning.
Yeah.
The bottom line is publicly when you're addressing the media, and this is like the first thing you ever taught us, is, hey, praise goes outward and blame comes back.
Yep.
Like, you got to go and pull the thumb on that one publicly. You can say, hey, I've been getting a lot of information. I haven't been doing a good enough job of taking the coaching and cutting it loose on the field. I have to do this. It's got to be leading with the thumb pointing back at him, even if he's going to explain what the source of that is so that it's not misconstrued and can't possibly be misconstrued by
That's exactly
else.
right. It's what you learn. And when I worked many years ago at ESPN, Sean Salisbury, who I played against for years, we were teammates at ESPN. He was the one that I first heard say, don't point the finger, pull the thumb. And no matter what, that's what you need to do. Don't point the finger, pull the thumb. And even in his explanation, that's what I think he was actually explaining, is there's a lot of different things to this. They ran with the headline when he said coaches, and that made it look like he was pointing the finger. And that's, I would imagine his pressers are going to be a little different now.
I'd imagine, but you mentioned headlines. There were more than just this headline around the Chicago Bears yesterday. And so for more on that, we're very excited to welcome in ESPN NFL Bears reporter Courtney Cronin joining us now. Courtney, thank you so much for the time. We know, and we can get to some of what went on with Justin Fields yesterday, but Hallis Hall yesterday and the headlines around Alan Williams, the now former Bears defensive coordinator who announced his resignation yesterday, became the story that everybody was talking about. Can you take us through the timeline of events as you have heard and reported on them from yesterday with Alan Williams?
Yeah, so great to be with you guys this morning. So to go back to last Thursday, Thursday is the coordinator day at Hallis Hall. And when Luke Getsy comes down, he's accompanied by a team spokesperson, a PR person, who then tells us, hey, Alan Williams is not here today, clarifies that it's due to a personal reason. And then, you know, at that point, you don't give too much thought to it other than, okay, maybe it happens from time to time where people can't show up to work because something else is going on. But this absence then snowballed into he's going to miss the game. Matt Eberflus is going to be calling defensive plays against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And in Tampa, after the game, Eberflus was very vague about whether Alan Williams would remain the defensive coordinator going forward and whether he would call plays upon coming back, and said that we would cross that bridge when we got there. So then you fast forward to Wednesday, and there were comments made because Matt Eberflus was asked about Alan Williams multiple times leading into yesterday, and he said that he did not have any update. He kept deferring back to the same thing he had been saying, and there's a lot of ambiguity around this. So when the statement from the team comes out at around 3 o'clock yesterday, after already such a whirlwind day at Hallis Hall, it leaves a lot of questions that have yet to be answered. Now, we know from Alan Williams in a statement that he and his lawyer prepared that the team handed out yesterday after they announced his resignation and confirmed it, that Williams says he's taking a step back to focus on some health issues and some personal issues he's dealing with his family. And his lawyer confirmed that to me as well. I had a chance to speak with him at length yesterday about this, but it's a really strange situation because the team's 0-2 right now. You don't typically see coaches, being removed or removing themselves from their position this early in the season. And I don't think that this is a storyline that's just going to go under the radar now that it's out there for a team that goes to play the world champion Kansas City Chiefs this weekend.
So, Courtney, there have been, I mean, this is where Twitter runs rampant, a lot of, rumors out there of what this was about, which everybody's got to be real careful about going down. From Hallis Hall, is the thought that, is he gone for good, or is he just gone for a time being and maybe coming back?
No, this is it for him with the Bears. His lawyer told me that he plans to return to coaching in the future, but this is not a leave of absence. He is resigning from his post with the Bears, and it's my understanding that he will not be back with the Bears.
And Courtney, I saw you address this online, but just making abundantly clear, rumors about any sort of raid or anything at Hallis Hall, those were all flatly denied by the organization, correct?
It was denied by the organization, and it was denied by his lawyer. There was a report out there that Hallis Hall had been raided, and of course, when you hear that, let's just make something clear. Like if there's anything going on behind the scenes with Alan Williams, and whether the team wants it out there or not, you hear that word raided, you think the feds are coming in and kicking the door down at Hallis Hall. That's not the case here. So the team, when they came down to address it with the media room yesterday, a team spokesman, they took a couple questions, and those were things that they vehemently denied right away, that there had been no police involvement due to this report that was out there. There had been no raid of Hallis Hall, and his lawyer confirmed those same sentiments with me as well. And also some of the other things that were out there, there's a lot of speculation, and, there's a lot of ambiguity. So it created a very rampant Twitter X storm yesterday. So, I mean, I don't think that the ambiguity from the team and the way that this was handled in the first place really helped the situation. But from what we know and what I've been told, that there was no police involvement here, and that's what they're sticking with.
So just like you said, I'm sure it's not going to be over. People looking into what's happening here. Bottom line is he is gone from the team. They've moved on. So let's move on to the field, and let me craft this as professionally as I can, Courtney. How messed up are the Bears? And I didn't really want to use the word messed.
No, you're right, and it's not a good situation. This is a team that suffered a bewildering loss in week 1. It wasn't just, okay, same old Bears. It was, what the heck was that? A team that had been set up to succeed throughout the offseason. You've got to question, was it just wish casting, even on their part, that they thought they were going to be this much better than they actually are? Because it feels like a continuation of the 2022 season, where they were set up to not be a very good team. They were set up to try to get the number 1 overall pick, and they did. But now that you're 2 games into a new era, which is year 2 of the rebuild, where you have a lot of new pieces around the quarterback and on the defensive side of the ball, the same excuses and same reasoning, I guess, credence that you'd give to a lot of the losses last year don't apply anymore. And so this is a situation where you've got a quarterback who does not look like he is comfortable out there, looks like he's not in an offense that is playing to his strength, and a defense that can't pressure quarterbacks to save its life. Like, this is not a good situation in Chicago for a group that's trying to move forward past a really tumultuous season last year. And it feels like they're still trying to get this thing off the ground when they should have been further along.
It's really been a surprise for a lot of people who, myself included, thought they made the right decision in dealing the number 1 pick and sticking with Justin Fields. But so far, that investment has yet to pay any returns. Courtney, we can't thank you enough for the time and information this morning. I'm sure it's been a wild week there around Hallis Hall, but thank you so much, and hopefully easier days ahead.
Yeah, it definitely was eventful. Probably one of the more eventful days I've had covering the NFL. But the craziest thing is that Braxton Jones, their starting left tackle, being on injured reserve was maybe the 9th newsiest thing that we had yesterday.
That is
so
unreal.
take that for what it
unreal.
is.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
I saw Courtney also tweeted they released Nathan Peterman yesterday at quarterback. Any roster move that you wanted to get out of the way if you were the Chicago Bears yesterday, that was the place to news dump it. On Dad, you're right. It was rumors running rampant. And this is the danger of Elon's current Twitter, where any blue check or anyone who can buy it can just throw stuff out there and people are going to run with it. I think it would benefit everybody from here on out now to take a beat, wait to see what other reporting potentially comes out of this. And instead now look at a Bears team that's going to try and make field changes on the field, having just lost their defensive coordinator at the very beginning of this season. Coming up next, we will look at some teams that have gotten a little bit of help coming their way after injuries that rocked the start of the year. That's next here on GoJo and Golic.
Welcome back to GoJo and Golic. And the Browns are saying welcome back to Kareem Hunt, who has just signed a one-year deal worth up to $4 million with Cleveland. So in 2022 with the Browns, he didn't start a single game, okay, but he saw action in all 17, had 123 carries for 468 yards, 3 touchdowns. His role this year, as he comes back, looks to be pretty similar. Stefanski made it clear Jerome Ford still expected to be the lead back for Cleveland.
You know, Jerome is the lead back, but we have to work through all of those type of things and you know, what Kareem's ready to do this week, you know, if he's ready to go this week and what type of load he can carry and Pierre Strong. So I think we need to work through all of that. But yes, Jerome is the starter.
So after we saw, you know, what happened with Nick Chubb, not really surprising that they went in to bring somebody in Kareem Hunt, kind of a natural fit here as he's been sitting out trying to find a deal.
Yeah, this was the easy one, right?
Sure.
It cost them less instead of going out and trading. We talked about, you know, a Cam Akers who we'll get to, or Jonathan Taylor, or somebody who you would have had to give up assets for. Kareem Hunt knows this offense. They just said, when you heard Stefanski say not sure what he can do playing, that's football shape. You know, and how long it's so Jerome Ford should be the starter right now. He's been there, he's in football shape. He should get the guy that gets the carries. But you know, now you can keep that split like you had with Chubb and Hunt over the last 2 years. And I think it was the right move to bring him in and start to, where they relied so much on the running game. We have talked already how they were trying to flip that to Deshaun Watson, and it hasn't been working so far. So it would be nice if they could rely on the running game again.
It would be, but I don't know for me if that move indicates that that's necessarily coming, right? For a guy that was not at this point good enough to be on someone's roster yet, was waiting around. You're going to be wondering what kind of shape he's in, like you said. All of this still indicates to me, all right, the running game only still matters so much to them relative to overall this. And quite honestly, you have to ask now, with what Nick Chubb affords you, one of the best runners in the NFL, irregardless of offensive line, but he's had a really good one here, even with this offense.
Permission to freak out?
And we're back. We think. Nope. We froze again. We're going to go to commercial, and then GoJo and Golic will be back. Stay with us. Welcome back to GoJo and Golic, everybody. It's Thursday, and you know what that means. Kick off your weekend with NFL football Thursday night on Prime. It is on. 49ers trying to move closer to a franchise record against the New York Giants. 49ers have won 12 straight regular season games, 3 shy of the club mark set in 1989-1990 season. So last time these two teams faced off was in 2020. San Fran took the win, 36-9. As for the big name injuries in this one, guys, 49ers wide receiver Brandon Ayuk going to be a game time decision, whereas Giants running back Saquon Barkley has been ruled out. Not surprising that Saquon is out, guys, but what does that mean for the Giants offense here?
It means Daniel Jones better get on that horse and run, because that's about the only thing that's going to give them a chance, Dad, in a game where they're also down multiple starters from their opening day roster on the offensive line and have a receiving core that's still kind of coming together at this point.
Yeah, the guy you're relying on is Waller, the tight end you brought in. Campbell hasn't become a big part of this offense. Paris Campbell, who's come over from the Colts, he hasn't really become a big part yet. As you mentioned, starting from the season, left guard, left tackle, both out. Saquon out, outside linebacker out. And you had a short week and you're playing San Francisco. I mean, this is one of those that makes it look so easy of a, and remember, a 10.5-point spread is monstrous in the NFL.
Huge.
It makes you so just want to easily take San Francisco, and that's when you get into trouble, and all of a sudden it's a closer game than you think. But you sit there and try and think, how can they make this closer? And they're going to have to make it closer by the Giants' defense. The Giants' defense is going to have to try and keep this San Francisco offense in check as best they can, because you can't go score for score with them. And we know that San Francisco can score with the weapons that they have. Now, we'll see about Ayuk with the shoulder, if he's going to play or not, but he has been that number one receiver. You can't go toe-to-toe there. You know, you're going to have to try and keep them down a little bit and try and have some ball control. We have to try and think of ways for the Giants to do this. It's going to be a tall task.
It's really doing some tough mental gymnastics. You try and go back and say, well, what are the positives? Like, how did the Giants turn it around in the second half against the Cardinals last week? You come back from down big at halftime there. I think they've got to play a little bit more, like, reckless is the wrong word, but they've got to just cut it loose. The second half, they came out and they just said, bleep it. Let's start going bombs away.
Yeah.
And 2 of their best drives came when they started with big, deep shots to Jalen Hyatt, who they drafted out of Tennessee. And that kind of opened everything else up for them. And so I think you just have to try stuff like that early. Because like you said, you're not going to be able to go long-term on offense, big, long, sustained drives against a defense like San Francisco. You're going to have to hope you force a penalty. You're going to have to hope you hit a big play and your wide receiver can make a contested catch every once in a while. And then you're going to need your quarterback to go out there and do something on the ground. Like, the formula in the second half for the Giants last week was, we are either going to throw a deep pass that someone is going to catch or get interfered with on, throw an RPO to Darren Waller over the middle of the field, or have our quarterback tuck it and run it if nothing else is there. Daniel Jones, who had 64 design rushes last season, 120 rushes overall, that was once again what it devolved to in the second half, and it worked for them. Now, I think all of those things get infinitely harder when Nick Bosa is the one you're trying to option on the perimeter, when if you're trying to throw those RPOs, you're doing it against one of the best coverage linebackers in football and Fred Warner. So those things get harder, but the cutting it loose downfield and trying to use that as a means to jumpstart your offense has to be a holdover.
So the starting point, if I were back in my defensive player days in game planning New York, would be contain Daniel Jones. And that's exactly what Kyle Shanahan said, we talk about pass rush lane integrity, which seems to be less and less important as rushers just are freewheeling everywhere, taking inside routes. So I called the Giants-Dallas game, first game of the season, and that was one of my key points at the beginning was keep Daniel Jones from being able to escape. And that first drive, which was the best drive for the Giants, they ran the ball right down the field. I think it was 3 times Daniel Jones got outside of contain, and that's when he makes stuff happen, either with his arms or with his legs. So Kyle Shanahan, the defenders for San Fran, talking about pass rush lane integrity. Don't let him out, especially escape into the outside. The other dangerous thing is when the outside rush, like a Bosa comes, he comes flying up the field. If Jones has a place to step up and out, that's just as dangerous. So you've got to get that constant pressure on them. And by the way, the Giants have given that up. Daniel Jones has been sacked 10 times. So we talk about the long plays to Jalen Hyatt. Well, long plays take time for the receiver to get down the field to make it a long play. And a lot of times Daniel Jones doesn't have a long time. And in this game, I wouldn't expect him to either.
Yeah, they had to go max protect on a lot of those. And quite honestly, that's the other difficult part of this game is you now are playing against a team with the Cardinals. You didn't have one guy that you had to devote time and energy to stopping. For the 49ers, you got to know where Nick Bosa is every play. And you got to know every play, especially when you're going to drop back, how are we handling this dude and how many guys is it going to take to do that? That has got to be the math you do on every single play. Because the other side for the 49ers offense, that's been one of the things I was surprised watching the Giants defense get pushed around, quite frankly, by Arizona over the course of that game. They right now are still waiting on Kayvon Thibodeau to become a pass rusher that a team needs to spend time and resources trying to work their way through. But they don't have that right now. Instead, what you saw last week against the Cardinals was a team that got gashed by counter and outside zone, which, hello 49ers, and a team that also got targeted by the tight end, Dad. You look at the combination of Ertz and Trey McBride for the Cardinals, 8 catches for 88 yards in that game. George Kittle, who was a little bit more of a statistical no-show against a team like Pittsburgh to start the year because he had to help them help TJ Watt, do a bunch of things to help in that. He's going to play wild and free and be a guy that I would imagine is going to light up fantasy owners' hearts because this seems like a matchup that, as the Giants tried to figure out from last year, having to change out most of their linebacker room, changed out some of their safety players in the offseason, how they're going to go about that, because that was the matchup that the Cardinals went and exploited over and over again.
Yeah, they did. And as I said, I think a lot of this is going to fall because we keep talking about the offense because that's where 3 of the 4 starters are out of what are they going to do. A lot of times I think that's why you're going to see Matt Breida a lot on third downs if they have to max protect or if you have to chip with a running back or chip with a tight end, those will then be kind of the check down guys for Jones if he has to get rid of the ball. But I still think it's on the defense of the Giants to come up and slow down this offense. And one of the ways to slow down is to get the quarterback, off schedule. The Giants have 0 sacks on the year, 0. So, nice. I mean, they have not been putting a ton of, not that means there's no pressure on the quarterback at all. You can get pressure and not get a sack, don't get me wrong, but no sacks. So Brock Purdy, who's been sacked 4 times this year, has been, seems to will be pretty clean in the pocket. As we said, is there another team with as many weapons as this, where Deebo Samuel, who was the talk of the NFL 2 years ago, has become like the secondary, jack of all trade guys, as opposed to what Brandon Ayuk is doing. And I mean that as a compliment to this offense. I don't think Deebo feels that way about it.
I was going to say, I'd be interested in an honest moment, as we are seeing, because remember, Brandon Ayuk, when he first got to San Francisco, wound up in the doghouse, Kyle, pretty quickly, and now has turned into a guy not only makes spectacular catches, but we've seen some devastating blocks from him. He's bought into the program and what they expect of you as a wide receiver under Kyle. But you're right. Him being down, we're looking for things right here that could be a hope for Giants fans, right?
Yeah.
And maybe if Brandon Ayuk all of a sudden can't go or isn't 100%, the offense has to adjust a little bit. But this is still one of the offenses that's the most insular in the NFL. As we talked about with yesterday with Andrew Whitworth, you got an all-pro at every level on both sides of the ball. So you're going to have something to offset that. So for the Giants, how they defend the middle of the field against all that. And if he's down, then how does Kyle Shanahan employ Deebo Samuel? If all of a sudden the Brandon Ayuk reps are gone there, do we get a little bit less of him in the backfield, a little bit more of him running the number 1 stuff on the outside for a team that right now, Dad, the 49ers just seem ahead of everybody. You might be able to throw a team like the Dallas Cowboys into that argument as well, who looked really clean and complete. The defense certainly weaponized plutonium week 1 against the Giants, but both of these teams, and I think especially the 49ers, have hit the ground running in a really meaningful way to start the year at a time of year where the football's been sloppy.
They were the 2 teams after week 1 you said the complete opposite about, right? San Francisco hit the ground running. The Giants losing 40-0 to the Cowboys, we were head scratching. And as I said at the end of that broadcast, okay, we're going to start to find out, are they closer to this or are they closer to what we saw last year when they made the playoffs? And it started to look like they were closer to week 1, which the first half of the Cardinals game. Then they brought it back. So where are they right now? I don't think good enough to beat San Francisco, but where are they? Are they at least going to be able to take some steps in the right direction?
Yeah, we're trying to work from patterns to trends as we get to week 3 in the NFL's regular season. So we'll keep an eye on that heading to Thursday Night Football. But coming up next, let's turn our eye back to Major League Baseball and an important update from the world of pickleball next on GoJo and Golic. All right, welcome back to GoJo and Golic. Michael Oak Jr., Michael Oak Sr. here, Jesse Cofield hanging out in Boston.
Just get to it.
No, well, so I want to dispel a couple of things here first while we've got the time, because we mentioned the internet is full of rumors and hearsay. Yes. And I do want to just put out first and foremost, I was not the naked guy wandering around the DFW airport the other day. I saw a lot of people tagging me on that video of some guy who just decided to take off all his clothes at DFW. I haven't been at DFW in a while. Yep. And even still, I haven't been naked in DFW ever yet. And my butt would look a lot better. So all that being said, I just wanted to clear that up right now because the rumors are quite frankly rude, crass, and offensive.
Well, your mother's happy to know that because we were wondering when we saw it. But then we knew you were here, but we thought, did you take a quick trip while you were here in South Bend? because we thought it kind of looked like you, and it was a little disturbing, is what it was.
It was a lot disturbing. Shout out to that guy though, living his truth in public there. Also, not shout out to that guy, especially if there were children involved. You're going to get ready to live the rest of your life very differently.
Can you push this off anymore? Can you stall? Can you deflect any more than you're deflecting right now? We played pickleball yesterday.
He's actually monologuing to get out of.
I'm trying
Thank you, Jesse.
Yeah,
Thank you, Jesse.
Nice try. Let's get to the pickleball update.
Thank you.
All right. So this is what happened. We decided to finally, I have been able to withstand the pickleball craze for months now.
Right.
And a lot of it towards the end was grounded in an idea that I've heard is a pretty common refrain. I used to talk to Katie Nolan, our dear friend, about the show Ted Lasso.
Right.
And she'd never watched it. And after a while, she said, I have just heard so much hype about this show. I didn't think it could possibly live up to it. And I didn't want to have to jump in late and be the one who all of a sudden was the wet blanket on that.
Gotcha. Okay.
I have heard so much hype about people playing pickleball since this craze started. Didn't think it could possibly live up. Boy, did it ever. That is a fun game,
isn't it?
It is accessible to every variety and every level of athleticism here. You get a good workout, but you're not dying out there or anything. I had a great time playing that.
Boy, it is amazing how you were just laying this out without getting to it. Listen, it was me and my wife, Mike, and his sister-in-law, Jenny, and my son Jake was there. He's got kind of a bad back.
Who had fun. Everyone had fun.
Everybody had fun.
It was incredible.
Whatever. We do have a broken racket to talk about, though. So we were kind of switching off teams, but the bottom line was Mike has a lot of clothes here, and I wear his shirts. And if my team beat his team, I would get to wear any shirt I want. If his team won, he could take all the shirts, and I could never wear them again. Mike, you want to tell them the results? Go ahead. What did me and your mother do to you and Jenny?
You guys won. I mean, it wasn't like decisive.
But who won? Does it matter?
Oh, I mean,
does it matter? So do we have 13 people voting whether we make the playoffs or not?
No, but what we had was a game where we were just round robining people in while you guys wanted to go over on the swing set and take breaks with Jackson there.
So now it's bad. It's bad. We wanted to spend time with our grandson.
Yes, if you had a goal of playing this game,
did we play
in a series that was going to matter?
Did every time me and your mother play you and Jenny, did me and your mother win?
Well, and let's get to the real crux of this here. I had to overcome my teammate. I don't know if Jenny's listening right now. I mean, she was a liability.
She is
She'll be the first one to tell you
upstairs.
that.
She
was
is
not good.
upstairs
Jesse, she was
not
watching
good.
this, and she is going to come downstairs and kick
She was not good.
She's going to do it.
If she wants to come down here and dispute that she was not good.
So you were perfect.
I was good enough to win.
Oh, wow. Wow. Let me ask you a question. We had 4 rackets. Is one of the racket now have a crack in it?
I'm sorry I care.
Does one of the
I'm
rackets
passionate.
have a crack in it?
Yes, it does have a crack in it. I was testing its durability and it failed the test. You guys bought cheap rackets.
Another time, did you throw a racket in disgust?
There was racket throwing.
Yes.
Oh,
There's a
okay.
racket toss. Again, if you guys want me to apologize for caring, for being passionate, and wanting to go out there and succeed in spite of my teammate, then I won't apologize for that. I am not going to apologize for being a high-level competitor.
Senior, did Jackson witness this display of sportsmanship?
Yes, Jackson saw it all.
Wow.
Jackson now when we're raising Jackson and he starts to understand a little more, we're going to have to tell him the don'ts are going to include don't do things that Uncle Mike is doing as far as sportsmanship is concerned.
You know what? I didn't realize I was talking to the old baseball guard here, where you got to just walk down and place your bat there and walk to first base. You can't express any of your emotion. You can't be yourself.
You just
out
can't
there,
dive into
apparently.
the fact that you lost.
Here's my thing. You can be passionate, GoJo, and I'm with you. I would have been probably smashing my racket too and freaking out. I'm with you on that. But you're trying to. You're like, there's a lot of reasons why you lost and stuff, you know, and there's a lot of buts.
It had nothing to do with me.
Okay, all right, nothing to do with you. Okay.
By the way, your mother just texted and said Jake and Jenny went to breakfast. So luckily Jenny is not hearing any of this, but I will be telling her.
She probably does need to hear it. Maybe she'll play
man.
Listen, I'm just
sounds
trying
like a rematch is going to happen.
Hey, whatever you want to lose, bring it on.
Double or nothing?
I said, let's go play one-on-one.
I'll play you one-on-one.
One-on-one. I don't want any excuses.
For all
I don't
the
want any
marbles?
other things. Mano a mano for all the shirts.
Oh, wait, I already won the shirts. Think of something else. The shirts are mine.
Okay.
Right? We got to come up with something else. I won this bet. Me and your mother smoked you guys.
Jesse, can you save us from this and update us on some of what's going on in Major League Baseball right now? Because even though my father would like to cover this up with more pickleball propaganda, there is an incredible NL wildcard race going on that people need to hear about.
Yeah, okay, so the regular season is wrapping up in less than 2 weeks. The NL wildcard race is going down to the wire here. So 6 teams, Philly, Arizona, Miami, Chicago, Cincinnati, and San Fran, are currently in or within 3 games of a wildcard spot. 10 games to go-ish here. And a 7th, the Padres have won 6 in a row to try and make a late run here. So it ain't over till it's over, fellas.
No, and Dad, this is exactly what Major League Baseball had in mind, right? With the expanded postseason, and what they wanted to talk about here was creating more interest longer in the regular season for a lot of these teams. And so from that standpoint, mission accomplished. We talk about this with college football and the expanded playoff. The NFL did the same thing, going to 7 teams in theirs. With the owners, it is always this idea that more is better, but when you involve more engage more fan bases, that's a net win usually for leagues.
Yeah, whatever. Jesse, thanks for the update. Jenny just texted, you are in so much trouble.
How much trouble?
Okay, all right. Keep talking your junk. Keep talking your noise like you played perfect out there. Boy, are you a bad teammate. Wow.
You know what?
Wow.
Speaking of tough teammates here, you look at some of the disappointment in Major League Baseball this year. I mean, you got teams spending like crazy here. The Mets, the Padres are spending all this money, and then you had to sacrifice all the depth now. If you're the Padres here, your stars are going out there and doing their thing. The rest of the team can't live up to that. You got Steve Cohen out here Twitter fingers through everything, and now he's having to have a slice of humble pie. You wonder if it changes the way they go into team building next year, Dad. There's a lot going on here right now. Why are you trying to be a football guy and cover up what Major League Baseball is doing here? Rob Manfred and these dudes have worked really hard to make this happen, and you're trying to put them under a bush. You're trying to put this lamp. Remember the lamp I told you about?
Yeah.
You're putting it under a bushel basket right now.
Yeah.
This little light of mine, you got to let it shine.
Yeah.
You got to let it shine.
Whatever.
Let it shine.
So back to
shine.
it again. We
Let it
played
shine.
3 times, me and my wife against Mike and Jenny, and all 3 times we did beat them. And yeah, I get it. Baseball, listen, we're going to talk plenty of baseball as we get closer and closer to the postseason.
I mean, the Yankees.
Listen.
The Yankees, can they get anyone who
What are we
hits
doing?
baseball
What are
for
we
them to stay
doing?
healthy
Spending all this
for
money.
any amount of time
We
here?
can't win. I mean, what are we doing?
I love Giancarlo Stanton. He's a great guy.
Speaking of money spent, are you going to spend money on a new racket after you broke the racket when me and your mother beat you and Jenny?
You know what it is? It's like the old line, are you hurt or are you injured?
Yeah.
The racket's not broken. It's just damaged.
But it
works
and
fine.
you damaged it. I will say there is a lot of injuries to the elders of like my age of 60. And I do think about it when I'm playing. Like when you hit a shot or Jenny hits a shot or Jake, and I'm thinking, do I want to go the extra step for that
You're
shot?
making pickleball business
I am
decisions.
making business decisions on, do I want my hamstring or my Achilles to tear? Do I want my back to twist? So I usually don't do it.
What
This
was
is
the number?
article we looked at.
Yeah, what was the number, Gojo? There's like a dollar amount that pickleball is costing the American taxpayer or something.
This is the article on Forbes that we saw. This is the headline. Pickleball injuries cost Americans nearly $400 million this year, and seniors are hit the hardest. There's UBS analyst released a note on Monday. This is back in June of this year, saying Americans will spend between $250 million and $500 million in costs tied to pickleball injuries this year. So, Dad, this is really about me wanting to take care of you and your long-term health, so you don't have to limp around and help raise your grandson.
$400 million. That's more than the Mets, Yankees, and San Diego's payroll. So how about that? Let's get back to sports, huh? Let's talk to Diana Rossini coming up here on GoJo and Golic.
Welcome back to GoJo and Golic. I'm Jesse Cofield. Let me headline some of the top stories swirling around the NFL right now. So we got more drama for Justin Fields in Chicago. Kareem Hunt rejoins the Brown, and Cam Akers' tenure in LA is over as he is headed to Minnesota. So for more on these stories, other NFL news and notes, let's get into it. The guys are standing by with the Athletic senior NFL insider, Dianna Russini.
Yeah, very excited. A little reunion here with one of our favorite former teammates in Diana Rossini. Diana, congratulations on all the success and the move over to the Athletic. How you doing, bud?
Uh-oh.
I'm back, baby. Hi, guys.
There we go.
There she is. How you doing,
Yeah,
bud?
at this new job, I'm learning you have to turn your mic on. So, people at ESPN used to do that for me. But here, you have to learn how to use switch buttons. I heard Jesse introduce me as senior, and I'm just playing off the conversation you guys were having a couple minutes ago. You hear senior, and it's almost like you make me seem like I'm 65 years old. But
that's good in your business, right? To be titled that. Not so much for me, but good for you, right?
Yeah, someone made that up. I don't even know how you get to the level of senior as a writer. You know what I mean? Like what does that even mean? So yeah, when they presented that, or at least when they put out just a release that they had hired me, they added that, and I was like, wow, that sounds so darn important, but it's so not important. I'm literally just doing the same exact thing I did at ESPN, but now I just feel cooler.
There you go.
Hey, listen, and you know what?
Yeah.
Doing it extremely well still, which we're fired up about here. And Diana, Lord knows you've had enough to keep you busy here in this last week or so of news. We talked before about what's gone on with the Chicago Bears, their defensive coordinator, Alan Williams, yesterday announcing his resignation. What have you heard around the league about this story and what's gone on at Hallis Hall lately?
Yeah, journalism is dead, guys, as you saw yesterday. I feel bad for people who get stuck in these situations where their stories are being sort of formed through rumor and bad information, and it had been flying around. And look, some of it is actually I will put on the Chicago Bears because they continue to just kind of stay quiet on the situation. And when you hear silence from a team, all that does is throw the flags up from reporters to just start digging on it, right? Like the less you say, the more we want to know, and the more fans want to know, especially when it's a team that's struggling as much as the Chicago Bears are right now. So we started actually working on the story late last week to just try to figure out what was happening. And it's truly been described to me through multiple conversations, through sources with the Bears organization, sources with the league, sources with people close to the now former defensive coordinator, that this is personal. This is a situation happening in his family, and he felt that he needed to step away from working with the Bears to address it, take care of it, and make a priority in his household. So while it's always difficult when you're reporting these type of stories. You want to be respectful to people's personal lives. This is something they're handling. It's their business. But when there's so many rumors flying around, if we spent every second of the day addressing lies, I would never. I don't sleep anyway, but I would really not sleep. So it was one of those. As soon as the Bears came out and said, police did not raid our building, police did not raid his home, they addressed a lot of the rumor, which then we had to clarify. So I feel like it's really important to clarify. There was nothing criminal here. There was nothing violent here. The police are not involved in this. This is truly a personal situation that has nothing to do with the Bears at all.
Yeah, and you're right about journalism. Anybody that buys a blue check, they can go ahead and write what they want and start rumors. It gets absolutely ridiculous. And luckily for the Bears, now they're not playing well, so I don't know if it's luckily. Matt Eberflus is a defensive coach, so he can, grab the reins for a while until they decide what direction they're going to go. Another side of it, Diana, from your perspective, we got Justin Fields giving the presser that he gave, really started explaining things. Everybody ran with he was blaming the coaches. He pulled all the reporters together in the locker room, tried to, say what he meant there. How about from your side, someone who asked those questions now and how he went about it and what you expect his pressers to be like after admitting he needed to maybe backtrack a little bit?
Yeah, so fortunately, I have tons of experience with drama when it comes to coaching quarterbacks because I worked in Washington for years, right? So I was there during the Shanahan era with Robert Griffin III, Kirk Cousins, Kyle Shanahan, Mike Shanahan, and eventually Dan Gruden. So that was a pretty normal week for us. So I'm very broken in. It takes a lot at this point in my career to be like, oh my gosh, things are crazy, because nothing will ever come close to what that drama was there. So yesterday when I was listening to Justin Fields, and I actually happened to have it pulled up, and I was listening to it live, I knew soon as he was asked why he wasn't comfortable or why he wasn't playing with his own instincts and his own natural ability and what he was more prone to do. As soon as I heard the reporter follow up, well, why not? And he said, no, it could be coaching. No, it's coaching. And I was like, here we go. And I could see Justin's side of this, right? So he'd actually spent a lot of time taking the blame during this press conference, discussing some of the issues that we were having. This was just my opinion. He was just tossing up reasons at that point because they're already a few minutes in. So he'd already taken the blame, already said they had to do more. And then he included the word coaching, which then immediately throws a red flag up, although that's what it is. This is the play calling. This is why Justin Fields is not playing well. And I do believe the reality of this is it's both. I think it's some Justin Fields, and I do think it's some coaching. And I think this is a team that is trying to find his identity. They're trying to play into his strengths and figure out how to do that in a productive way while also trying to protect him and protect the organization and the future of them by continually growing him and pushing him to become a pocket passer. And I think that's a lot of the frustrations that we're hearing through a lot of these interviews, and a little bit of confusion also because we've seen the production and it hasn't been good.
Yeah, the struggle has certainly been real in Chicago for the Bears. They're going to try and right that ship, probably with fewer words going forward. Diana, I want to switch as we talk about bizarre stories in the NFL to what's been going on around the Las Vegas Raiders with one of their star pass rushers in Chandler Jones, who they announced yesterday they put on the non-football injury list. What does the future look like for Chandler Jones and this organization based on all of the strange social media postings and other issues surrounding this player?
Yeah, it's certainly really frightening when you see messages like that on Instagram and Twitter. And it's not like the fans are just seeing it. His teammates are seeing it. His former teammates from other teams, especially in Arizona, they've all seen it. And everyone has concerns because it's been really erratic and emotional, and it seems very impulsive. And it's been going on for over a month, and the Raiders have been dealing with this in-house. They've been very quiet about the reality of what's happening to try to respect the player's position and situation. And they've been trying to get him help from what I can gather. The league is involved. They've been kept aware of what's happening. So, from a football standpoint, when you have a player not showing up and you have a player going through something obviously here, he's tying up a roster spot, right? Again, we're talking the business side of this. I don't want to not show any sensitivity or compassion to the situation. So let's just talk football to this. This is a roster spot that the Raiders could use. But in order for that spot to be open, they need to put him on the NRI. And in order to get that, there's a lot of medical that is involved, doctors, counselors that would have to be part of it, which is what the Raiders were eventually able to get. So now Chandler Jones is going, he's stepping to the side here, going to get some help. They're going to try to support that. And we're going to have to just wait and see for when doctors, along with the Raiders, feel that he's in a position in his overall health to rejoin the team. I do know they're not giving up on him, because I had a couple conversations over the last month of, if this is such a distraction, if this is such a problem, if this is taking a roster spot, why not cut him? Just cut him, right? Move on. We've seen other teams do it. And I don't get the feeling that that's an option for them. They understand Chandler Jones is an important part of their defense, but I think they want to see this through, and they do want to try to help him.
Well, I mean, it is a guy in 11 full seasons, and only 4 of them did he have single-digit sacks.
Yeah.
He's had double. The rest has 112 sacks, so I could see why they would still like Chandler Jones, a football player, on the field. Another team that would like their player back on the field is the Giants and Saquon Barkley, who's missed time in 19 with an ankle injury, missed time in 21 with an ankle injury. And here we are again with another ankle injury that Brian Daboll says, well, he's a quick healer, but I don't think it's going to be that quick. What do we think with Saquon and time missed?
Yeah, I love the Giants coming out swinging yesterday, or 2 days ago, trying to, keep everyone in check and trying to make it as competitive as they can. Because let's face it, the guys, the New York Giants are going to have to play every absolute card they can to have a shot against this high-powering, 49ers team on both sides of the ball for sure. So Saquon, notoriously, historically at least, has tried to get back quick, right? We'll call it the quick healing. Well, you're not a quick healer if you rush back and you re-injure it, right? Yeah. So I think we all have seen Saquon Barkley's workouts. We know his determination. I'm never going to take that away from him. I've been around him for years. He's an animal when it comes to his focus on football and his physical makeup and the work that he puts into his body, not just, from a strength perspective, but from a care. That it's a little Tom Brady-esque in terms of the effort he puts into it. But there's not much you can do when it comes to, unless you have a really good conversation with God, to get this healing process up. Although, do you remember, this just reminded me that, do you remember when Gettleman drafted him, he said that Saquon Barkley was touched by the hand of God?
Yeah.
So maybe he has a line. Maybe he can quickly call God and be like, hey, help me out with this ankle. I need it this year, right? Like the Giants need me and I need this for my future and for my contract situation. So look, I still think it's going to be time. The Giants had told me that it was going to be a week-to-week injury. I think that's always the hope going into these things, but we've seen all around the league, these things are going to take time. And I'd be really surprised to see Saquon back on the field after this game, for the next game. I think it's just going to be a few weeks.
Yeah, I agree. They have 11 days after this one, but still, it's going to be tough, I think, to get him back.
Yeah, no, like you said, and like Diana said there, it makes no sense for the player, and for him especially at this point, to rush back and be less than yourself because you're trying to work through an injury quickly. For a guy in a position that's already been a group more apt to hold out.
It's a great line Diana had as far as you're not a quick healer if you go back and end up getting hurt again.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, you are if you come back early and can make it through the rest of the season without getting hurt.
Exactly. Yeah. All right, let's get down to the real business here because Diana unfortunately had to listen to us devolve into chaos in the last segment when she was coming on here. Diana, the pickleball got bloody for us yesterday. I'm curious because you're an incredibly competitive person. I'd assume your family's the same way. What's like the most competitive thing that the Rossini family does when they all get together? You and your extended family now with your husband.
Outside of drinking, because they do that a lot, which you never grow out of that. I don't understand. I watch my brother and my brother-in-law and my husband and his brothers, and we're all together, and they just, I don't know if this is a man thing, and maybe you guys can explain it, but I don't understand the need to always yell out how much you've had, right? Like my husband will be like, I had 10 beers. I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, and look at you. Yeah. You look like a slob. Like, why are you showing that off? Like, I would play it the other way. I'd be like, I've had 2. And, so the drinking, unfortunately, is competitive, especially at kids' birthday parties. So that's unfortunately the new hangout spot for us. And everyone in my family has young kids. So we've figured out the only way to really get through it is to be drunk, because all these kids at the same, all similar ages, all together, it's a horrible situation actually. So drinking has helped with that. But outside of that, I mean, everyone is out of shape. Everyone is fat. No one takes care of themselves. No one eats well in our family. But for whatever reason, we like tennis, and there's a court near my parents' house. So my parents like to have family dinners there a lot. So we will go to the court before dinner and play. And by the way, I say it as if we did this last week. This was 5 years ago. Yet you would think this just happened because I made it to the championship round, of course. And my brother-in-law, who is a gym teacher, and if you saw him, he looks like a guidance counselor. He doesn't look like a gym teacher. I tell him all the time, I'm like, how do you teach teenage kids in high school about health and fitness and you're fat? Like, how does that work? And he's always like, well, I'm the example of what not to do. This is why we try hard at dodgeball. This is why we work hard on the mile run, right? You don't want to be me. He's like 34 years old too. Anyway, so he and I made it to the championship round, and he did win. I tried cheating too, which is, I've never admitted it. This will be the first time I've ever said it out loud.
Wow,
I'm sure
breaking
if I
news.
find it breaking news, I cheated in that game and I still lost. But the amount of trash talk that we have still about that match, it doesn't make any sense to me why we care so much. But I think to have a competitive spirit in a family, whether it's games, board games, or anything physical, I think it keeps it alive. It keeps it fun and makes us all feel like we're young when we're all just getting old.
Oh, we are, and trying not to hurt ourselves. And Diana, I'm not going to lie, you kind of, exposed yourself there a little bit by talking about just how out of shape this person is and bad this person is, and then to say, oh, when he beat me. I mean, so this out of shape, non-phys ed looking phys ed teacher, overweight dude beat you.
Yeah. And here's the thing. So we don't have a lot to hang on. Like your family's incredible, right? Like you guys have all these like athletic accomplishment. We all peaked in high school. So my brother-in-law's name is Jay, and he was a really good high school athlete. But after that was it, right? Same thing with me. I played in college, but I wasn't very good. So all we do is share like our accomplishments from high school. Now, still, I'll be like, yeah, well, I was first team all league in all 4 sports. But and it's just, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Meanwhile, I walk to the car and I can't even breathe because I'm out of breath, 20 years later. So look, if my family was smart, we'd start focusing on our physical ability and start getting in shape. Because we're all going to probably die of heart attacks within the next 5 years because the way we eat and drink. And look, we'll get there, but I think we're all just kind of in it right now with these kids.
It sounds like the anthem for the family is Bruce Springsteen's Glory Days. They just sit around and talk about high school.
My husband plays it on the phone every time I start talking about it. That is, if you want to talk about someone who doesn't want to hear about my past, it is my husband. So Kevin is my husband's name, and he was not a good athlete. He's a nerd. He's really bright. But it concerns me for my children because I want to have athletic boys. And I know that they have my DNA, so they're going to be fantastic athletes. But it wouldn't have hurt. It wouldn't hurt if, like, the mix was fabulous. You know what I mean? If we had, like, an all-American blood in him. In both my boys, and even sometimes I see Mikey like put the ball like in the little net that he has right outside his crib, and he'll miss, and I'll think, all Kevin right there. That's Kevin. Mikey had his first soccer game on Saturday. He's only 2. They don't know what they're doing. Mikey still bites people. He doesn't understand, right? But everyone is running in one direction, right? So it's great. They're understanding. My son goes, picks the soccer ball up, and runs off the field. I looked at Cap. I go, all you, right? Like, if it was all of me, he'd be scoring, But
God.
It's going to be a tough run, I think. And I'm sure you probably feel for Mikey and Joey already.
Wow.
You know what, man? I thought I was going out on a limb, throwing my sister-in-law under the bus at the pickleball course. Diana has joined me in this fight. She understands we're not going to make excuses for the people whose fault things are.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that level of honesty from our friend Diana Russini here, senior insider covering the NFL for The Athletic. Diana, so good catching up with you, bud. We'll have to do it again real soon here. Good luck to you as you try and overcome the other half of your gene pool in the house.
Oh my goodness, I love you guys. It was so good to see you. I will come on whenever you want, because this just feels good. Sometimes I feel like I should have been in your family, but although I will say I'm probably a little too harsh. You guys are kind people. I'm a little too nasty sometimes. So
you just hear a group text, so I don't know.
I was just saying, we'll see if my sister-in-law agrees with me when we get off the set here. Thank you,
Thanks,
Diana.
Bye, guys.
Thanks.
Man.
That's awesome.
Listen, you know what? By the way, side note here, guidance counselors catching a real stray out of all this.
Gosh!
As we power rank high school teacher athletic ability among the various professions in the building, I didn't realize guidance counselor usually, honestly, our guidance counselor in our building was my high school football coach.
It was. You're right.
We sort of life hacked that.
While you just basically ran over Jenny, your sister-in-law, about how bad you thought she played, Diana is not only running over, she's backing up. over her family. I mean, it is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
You know what? Honesty is the best policy. So coming up next, we will be as honest as possible as we look ahead to an unbelievable slate of college football games coming up to right week 3's wrongs. That's next here on GoJo and Golic.
All right, welcome back to GoJo and Golic. Jesse Cofield here. We're going to look ahead to some big college football games this weekend. And if you want to see one of those games live, you may want to check out our friends at gametime.co. You guys are always looking for tickets. We're trying to help you out here. So always an option, gametime.co.
Yes, and I can assure you, like last minute, whatever you need here, they are awesome here. It should make it not stressful for you at all. Great deals on tickets right up to the last minute of the game. And you can go over and use promo code GOJO and get $20 off your first purchase with all of those great deals.
I think one of the best things about it is you can actually see your seat.
Yes.
Before you get there and go, oh my God, this is my seat. You can see your seat on the app and see what kind of seat you're going to get before you buy the ticket.
And that applies to concerts, that applies to shows, that applies to sporting events. So everything through the fine folks at Game Time, they are incredible.
I am scared right now. Yes, I'm getting the hell out of the way because we're doing this show in my basement. Yeah. Jake, Jenny, and our wonderful grandson Jackson are here. We went and played pickleball yesterday, and me and my wife beat Mike and Jenny all the games except for one. I think we won 3, and they won 1. So I won the bet in this one, and Mike has done nothing but throw Jenny, his sister-in-law, under the bus. And Jenny, come on.
I mean, I don't know if I threw her under the bus.
No, you threw her under the bus.
Well, we'll hear what she has to say about it. Yes, get in there, Jenny.
Jenny, you got to talk into the mic.
Yeah.
I just have to be honest here because I think Mike's a coward. He knows that I am upstairs, and he decides to take it out on here instead of saying anything to my face. I am the butt end of many jokes of this family. Jake is never on my side. I asked Jake, and he was like, Mike is the one that held you back yesterday. Mike held you back. I mean, truthfully, how many do you hit him out of the court? He acts like he gets in this swing that he just launches it.
Oh, so
and he's coming at
yesterday, Jenny's saying, "Oh man, I'm really jealous of Mike's great swing.
Oh, yeah.
It looks incredible forehand.
Yeah, looks incredible. Was it accurate? No. So
I mean, it's a lot more accurate than this wrist motion from you, caught between worlds going up to the net.
I would like to go back today. I'll go. I'll go anytime. I know you leave tomorrow.
And we're not going to talk about the fact that running towards the net as we played doubles against my parents, my sister-in-law Jenny called my mom the B word as my mom hit a ball right at Jenny. Cursed at my mom running towards the net in real time.
That was my second part of this. Is I would like to give a public apology to my mother-in-law for calling her a B loudly to her face. In front of my son and many others. Lovely.
We might be banned from those courts, by the way. The language coming from our court was a lot different than everyone else.
Well, I have to say, you were a lot better than I thought.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, you move. I mean, you move like 100-year-old man in the house, but you on the court. I'm honestly beginning to think it's fake inside because
he's hustling us.
He was hustling pretty well, left, right, up, back, everything.
Just know I had your back this morning when he was ripping you.
Thank you. And so that's all I had to say. You're a coward.
Wow.
And if you want to talk again, you can say it to my face. I'm right upstairs. We'll happily have a good conversation. Hope the rest of the show goes well, everybody. Just wanted to let everyone know the truth.
Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you.
Check out Orange Theory and Hingham and Swampscott.
Yeah,
literally.
We like to hear both sides of the story, and I think there's kind of only one solution to this, which is that Jake, who apparently is sidelined with a back injury, takes video of the rematch today so we can see some of this in action. Because I've seen both of you imitating each other's swings. There's been some wrist movements. There's been some follow-through movements, and I think we just need to see it on video.
You know what? We probably do, because that'll be the game changer for everyone. I want the eye in the sky to tell the story.
Here's the only problem. The eye in the sky will really, it'll be one of those where we'll play, it'll be filmed, and then we'll look at it and go, oh my God, are we awful at this?
Yeah.
We look so unathletic doing this, all of us, not just
maybe
one.
That's probably for the best then that we don't
yes.
So we can maintain the image we think we have in our head
think
of how
so.
we look playing
I
this
think
sport.
so, yeah.
We are going to do that. In the meantime, I think we all need to relax a little bit, because speaking of what gets said when the cameras are running here, how about my guy Mad Dog yesterday?
Oh my gosh.
So we're looking up ahead at one of the best college football slates of the year right now. Number 6 Ohio State at Notre Dame for College Game Day. Number 24 Iowa versus Penn State. Colorado and Oregon. Oregon State and Washington State, the Tupac Bowl.
Yep, Tupac Bowl.
Ole Miss and Alabama, UCLA and Utah. You've got 6 ranked matchups this week. And Mad Dog went on First Take yesterday and laid out his plan for the weekend in a way I have never seen someone do on daytime television.
I'll get a run in. I'll take the 2 dogs, Bo and Riley, for a walk. At about 12 o'clock, I'll sit down. I'll make an early cocktail. Cut a gummy in half.
What's a gummy? A gummy.
I'll cut a gummy in half.
Keep listening.
I'll cut a gummy in half. We got Florida State Clemson. I like the Florida State quarterback. I'll do something there. At about 3:25, when I'm sauced, I'm not driving in the house, 3:25, I'll put the call in to Fat Rob, 718-504. I'll put the call in to Fat Rob. Rob, you know what? What the hell? I can't root for Oregon. All right, I'll pretend on TV. Put 10 dimes on Colorado. It's probably Colorado and Dion. Let's win the game. So by 3:25, I'll be sitting down with my shorts, little T-shirt, cocktail. I'll have the other half a gummy.
Oh, you save it for later?
I'll have half.
I thought you were just rationing it.
You gonna swing and take a rag while you doing that?
The timestamps for me. It's him having it planned out 3:25. He knows exactly when he's doing what.
I really need to know if this is how Mad Dog's out here living. Because first off, I mean, listen, I didn't know we could just talk about drugs on television like that. And I get
it's legal.
I
in a lot of
weeds
places.
in different places, just
right.
like drinking now. So honestly, I'm glad it's progressive stuff from Mad Dog, a guy who's been traditionally in his sports takes not very progressive on certain issues.
Yep.
But man, hitting the delayed release on the gummy, that's usually a recipe for disaster. When you pull the old, oh, I'm not feeling anything, let me take more. Oh my God,
But
now it's all
he
supernova.
did seem to know his rationing point, right? To cut one in half and take one a few hours
Well,
later.
I want to know how many milligrams Mad Dog's taking to the gummy here. Like, are we talking about a 10 milligram gummy here? Is Mad Dog on some real stuff? Like, what are we doing?
And I want to know, is he really putting 10 G's on Colorado?
Also, quietly, like, man, I know Mad Dog was doing well, but
I
just
know.
like a casual 10 bands.
Well, that's
on
the
Saturday.
thing. I mean, are you just saying that? Or are you actually doing it? Because we could sit here and say we're doing that, but I mean,
Also,
we're not.
Also, put it on the poll, Guillermo. Is calling $1,000 a dime?
Yeah.
10 dimes. Is that something that people do? I've heard stacks, racks. I've heard
Bands.
bands.
Yeah.
I've heard all
Yeah.
that stuff. I've never heard someone say 10 dimes.
I've
before
also
the way
heard
Mad Dog.
$10,000.
Well, yeah, but that
Yeah,
doesn't
okay.
sound
I
cool.
know.
when you're
All
trying
right.
to
Is everything now?
bookie.
Everything, all the lexicon just has to be cool.
I mean, I don't think Mad Dog did this for fun. Although, shout out to Marcus Spears,
Marcus
the real star of
Spears.
that
Oh,
show.
my God.
Because Marcus was like me. Like, we came up watching, no offense, you guys and Matt, like you and Mad Dog on TV.
Yeah.
And listening to you guys on radio.
And we never said that.
No, like, I mean, the mouse still signs his checks.
Yeah.
And apparently now the mouse is down with the green.
Yeah. Well, maybe the
Kinda
mouse.
green.
Maybe the mouse is splitting the gummy too. Who knows? We don't know.
That's true. I mean,
He is very happy in all of, when you see him, he looks.
Oh.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. And isn't that what life's about? Go ahead, give me another one. Should be happy.
Oh, you should be happy.
Was that a
Pass the other
toy?
end of that gummy, Mad
Is
Dog.
that a children's toy from the room, or is that you, GoJo?
It's either that or Jason Fitz is right outside the door.
Either one of those could qualify there. So for everyone getting ready to watch college football this weekend,
Wow.
go ahead and step the game up, man. Mad Dog just laid it down here at GoJo and Golic on Twitter. How will you be getting ready for your college football slate this weekend as we get one of the best in the business?
I've never planned it out that detailed like that. I knew I'd be sitting on the couch watching, but it's not like I had a menu or a drink or a gummy plan. It would just kind of happen. He's got it laid out. Good for him. As he said, I think he was asked, is he going to have anybody with him? He said he's an only child and he's his best company. So,
you know what?
Okay.
You know what I will say though is I would like now a live stream event watching Mad Dog go through this process and watch the game, because I have maintained I'm getting ready to call this game, and I'd imagine Oregon's a heavy favorite in this game. I think a lot of people expect them to win, but I want to paint you a picture in a world where it's the first quarter of this game. We're about 8 minutes in. It's knotted up at 0-0. It's been a rough start. And all of a sudden, Shedeur Sanders hits a deep bomb and Colorado scores to go up in this game. Right as Mad Dog's first gummy is really starting to settle in and mix with the drink there, that man's going to be as close to modern day Nirvana as any person gets. Thinking about his 10 bands or 10 pen, whatever he called it on there, 10 dimes.
10 dimes, yeah.
All of a sudden getting ready to cash. His body's numb. He's levitating off the couch. I want that for everybody this weekend.
But this is truly 2 days of it, right? We know on Sunday, it's Chris Hansen, it's 7 hours of uninterrupted football. You know you're going to be on the couch that long. Well, this time around, you know you're going to be on the couch that long for college ball.
Fused to the couch.
Welcome back to GoJo and Golic. It is a huge weekend in college football. 6 ranked matchups this week. Number 6 Ohio State versus number 9 Notre Dame. Number 24 Iowa versus number 7 Penn State. Number 19 Colorado versus number 10 Oregon. Number 14 Oregon State at number 21 Washington State. Number 15 Ole Miss versus number 13 Alabama. And number 22 UCLA versus number 11 Utah. And guys, we talked about this. There's been a ton of back and forth between Lane Kiffin and Nick Saban ahead of this Ole Miss-Alabama game. And with all the history between these two, you know, Lane Kiffin does want you to know, ton of respect here.
I think that sometimes with time those things happen, you know, that you continue to be appreciative for the opportunity that he gave, but not just that. You know, people give people opportunities all the time, but the things that I learned from him defensively, things I learned from him organizationally, discipline. So I'm extremely grateful to him, and he really helped me at a really challenging time in my life. You know, like they kind of say sometimes, I guess, you don't really figure out yourself sometimes until you're kind of torn down and have to rebuild yourself, and I'm grateful for him being part of that process.
I think they're outstanding. Obviously, they 4th in the country or something in total offense and scoring, 52 points a game and 526 yards. So this is Lane's an offensive guy, did a great job when he was here, and he's doing a great job there. And the players do a great job of executing, which is always a good sign of, a well-coached team. And I think he's done a fantastic job there.
I just really respect him so much, and I think as you continue to mature, grow, and get older, and as a head coach, you realize how much a head coach has to deal with, even though I'd been one before, and all the issues with players and coaches, and then, to be at the top as long as he was and see how consistent he was. And we'd have games, we'd blow people out, and that's him. I mean, Western Kentucky, we're blowing him out, and he's losing his mind on me like, we're losing to Auburn or something. So that's him, and that's why he's so good, because he's so consistent.
Okay, so a lot of compliments, but that also comes after like a lot of trolling. Lane Kiffin has been out here suggesting Nick Saban secretly changed defensive coordinators, blah, blah, blah. 2 days ago then, we saw on Twitter Lane Kiffin posting Taylor Swift's Castles Crumbling amidst the drama, perhaps a thinly veiled reference to what's going on here at Alabama. I don't know.
Is that thinly veiled, or is that a sledgehammer veil?
He remains college football's premier internet troll. He is truly the gift that keeps on giving to us there. But it was cute to hear them talk nicely about each other, because he is right. I mean, we all know Lane Kiffin's story, the precipitous rise and then fall right after, and then finds himself at Nick Saban's Home for Wayward Boys, where he comes and is able to not only usher in an era of offense that changed college football and what it did for Alabama, but certainly changed the course of Lane Kiffin's life, as now he got back into the head coaching circuit and has landed where he's landed at Ole Miss.
For all these games this weekend, for all of them, it's something different to watch. And Ole Miss, Alabama is the coaches, right?
Yes.
We're going to see play on the field, but we're waiting for the coaches talking before the game. We're waiting for whatever the outcome, the coaches together after the game, and then for Lane Kiffin's initial tweet after the game if they were to win this game. So it's different things, like the Utah UCLA, the third best rushing team with this freshman quarterback, Dante Moore, against Utah, 10th in the nation, giving up just 65 yards a game. So that's the matchup there. Each one of these games has a great matchup that we're looking at. Obviously Oregon, Colorado, the game you're calling just because of what Colorado is right now, and the first true test for what they're going to do. But without question, Ole Miss and Alabama, there's going to be some, and the cameras are going to be there too. The televised game, the cameras are going to be right on the coaches after big plays.
That one's certainly going to be cameras on the coaches, Oregon and Colorado. Because remember, Dan Lanning before the season, pretty critical.
Yes,
he
was.
Not necessarily specifically of Deion, but when the conversation was about Colorado moving to the Big 12, he said, well, what have they done? They haven't done anything in our league. Why should that matter with them?
So that wasn't at Deion, but Deion's going to make it, as he should, you find anything to put a chip on your or your player's shoulders, and that's what he should do.
And it's interesting looking at the lines for these games because we mentioned there's 6 ranked matchups this weekend.
Plus Florida State Clemson.
Plus Florida. Well, and that's where I was getting is this is the interesting part is you look at games like Colorado versus Oregon. Colorado number 19, Oregon number 10. Oregon is a 21-point favorite in that game right now on DraftKings Sportsbook. You look at number 24, Iowa, taking on number 7, Penn State. Penn State's a 14.5-point favorite in that game. You look at Ohio State going on the road against Notre Dame, 6 versus 9. Ohio State, the 6th-ranked team. They're a 3-point favorite on the road. Florida State is the 4th-ranked team in the country right now. Clemson, according to the AP poll, is unranked right now. Florida State is a 2.5-point favorite in this game.
Which is amazing.
That is an unbelievable amount of respect from the folks in Vegas that do be knowing. Like they were the ones, that stinky line last week with Kansas State, ranked team going on the road at Missouri, and we're only a small favorite there and end up losing that game outright on the major league thicker kick at the end of that game here. That's one where I think we've all looked at Clemson and seen some of the early demise this season, the loss to Duke early on in a standalone game that everyone's paying attention to, and looked at this Florida State team with all their transfers and Keon Coleman and the same deal. That primetime effect went both ways in opposite directions for these two teams to start the season. Vegas looks at this game and does not see the similar situation here, Dad. And I'm not really sure how to look at it myself. Florida State should win this game.
They should.
And should win it decisively based on what we've seen from that offense and its explosiveness so far. We know Clemson's got great personnel, but this is one where the sirens are going off in my head.
So I think it could be one of those where as a new quarterback this year, right, in Cade Klubnik.
Yeah.
So now he's got a couple of games under his belt. So maybe gaining momentum. It's kind of like Ohio State, Notre Dame. Ohio State started with a new quarterback. We've talked, more than a few times about top tier teams that are breaking in new quarterbacks. Well, Kyle McCord for Ohio State has gotten a few games under his belt before the biggest game right now for him in traveling to South Bend this weekend to take on Notre Dame. So maybe there's something to that, saying Klubnik's got a little more comfortable in that offense. He has thrown 8 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions, again, losing to Duke, though, so that made us all scratch our heads a little bit. But I do think that has something to do with it.
It definitely does. But when you look at the trajectory for these teams now, it's so difficult in the early season to decipher what's real.
Yes.
Because since Clemson played that game and lost against Duke, you look at who they've been playing against. Charleston Southern, who they beat down. Florida Atlantic, who they beat down. And on the other side, Florida State, I'm sure a lot of this line is everyone looking and going, what the hell was that against Boston College last week?
Yes.
Like, what business do you have being down most of the game and then winning by 2 against Jesse? I'm sorry for this slander right here. Boston College, not a good football team at this point this season. And yet somehow Florida State, maybe it's the look ahead, maybe it's playing with your food. We saw a lot of that going around the sport this last week. But I think that was enough for odds makers to look and kind of question, say, hey, all right, is this as big a lock as it looked like when they're out here putting it on LSU in a game where, Dad, you're going to get up for that helmet sticker you see on the other side of the field. And that's why I feel like at Clemson here, I don't have any worries about a sort of letdown or any emotion. This is a week where every team that we've talked about, you're going to be up 100% for this game because you know and respect the opponent on the other side.
I didn't expect a letdown with Florida State and BC, you did expect maybe a little bit of, even though BC is in the same conference as them, they're not nearly as talented as Florida State. So maybe there was these are still 18 to 22-year-olds who can't listen. We've had this at Notre Dame for how many years, playing down to the competition and then pulling it out at the end or losing those games. At least Florida State won it. At least they pulled out that win.
My brother in Christ, I was a part of teams that lost to UConn and Syracuse teams that were not good on our senior days at home, because you look on tape all week in these games and you see an opponent that you're better than, star ranking wise, quality of play wise, and then the team you end up getting in those games when you are the hunted now. And in our case, we weren't a great team then, but it's still
Notre Dame.
You recognize that especially when teams are coming and playing you at home, this is an opportunity for guys on that roster to get tape against NFL players that they're going to try and show and make their future on, and to get over if they think a program should have recruited them. Any number of things where you're going to get uncommon effort, usually a game plan that you haven't seen on tape before, and all of those factors can add up and snowball. And so you get credit for getting by that, but apparently, according to Vegas, only so much.
This is one of those weeks where no artificial blowing up or getting ready for a game should be necessary, right? these are all games where it should all be right there at all times.
Yes, exactly. We are all going to be ready to go, including our good friend Mad Dog Russo. Coming up next, though, a GOAT debate in the world of tennis. Sign me up. That's next here on GoJo and Golic. Welcome back to GoJo and Golic. Michael Jr., Michael Sr., Jesse Cofield here. Let's finish off the show the way we always do. This, that, and the third. 3 quick stories to send you off into your day. As always, make sure you download, subscribe, rate, review. Leave us that 5-star rating. Let us know more of what you want to hear as we keep chugging through the fall here. Dad, Jesse, let's get to this. This is interesting, Dad, and I think probably in the best interest of these leagues surviving and doing well. We saw the reports the other day that the XFL and the USFL are expected to merge now and form one league of spring football, trying to be that supplemental league for the NFL. Still haven't seen specifics about how the equity is going to be shared amongst the two, who's going to televise the games, or how that's going to work. But this idea of having these two sides working as one to try and continue to show the NFL this is worthwhile, to me, makes the most sense.
So it's good and bad. And that's the good part, is that they would become stronger to show the NFL maybe really be kind of more that minor league, like NFL Europe, actually, which was run by the NFL, that certain teams, certain Europe teams had NFL teams underneath them, and that's where you sent players and such. You would like some sort of symbiotic relationship like that. And hopefully we'll get that. Then they just have to decide the rules,
sure,
because they both have different rules and such. But much stronger there than two, because rarely have we seen spring leagues make it. So you played in one, the FXFL. I always have to say that slow.
Yeah, if it's that hard to say, it's probably not going to have any chance.
Probably not going to. And the odds of both of these making it were going to be slim, even though, you know, The Rock is involved in one. Usually everything he touches turns to gold. You have to have deep pockets and know you're going to lose money for a number of years. So getting together, I think, is the way to go. and hopefully it works with the NFL. The downside, Mike, is now you're cutting in half the workforce.
Sure.
Guys who want to try and keep that dream alive, if they don't get drafted or they go to a camp and they get cut and they don't go to a practice squad, where do they go? Now, if they only have one league to go to, now, again, guys are left kind of out in the cold. Will they try and go play up in Canada? Some forms of indoor leagues that are out there to try and keep your dream alive. And that's exactly what it is. You're trying to keep your dream alive. I really think The Rock said it best when you're player 54 in a 53-man roster. You're 54 and trying to get on that roster. So the workforce getting cut in half, I think, is a real downside.
Yeah, both leagues carried 8 teams that played 10-game schedules. But, Dad, I think this is sort of like the utilitarian model where it's do the most good. If both of these leagues weren't able to succeed and folded, then you've got nobody playing. If the one league that goes along, even if it's just with 8 teams, can sustain its life cycle a lot longer, that's going to employ more guys over a longer period of time.
And maybe they'll have more teams. Maybe they'll have the ability, if they're putting teams, the leagues together, to have more teams. We'll find out. But overall, I agree with you. I think it's the right thing to do and good idea.
Also, by the way, I understood the player 54 message because it works for most. Really, if you're player 54, you're probably going to be on the practice squad. You're probably going to be on the NFL team making money.
Now it should be like player 70 almost. Because there's like 16 or 18 players on practice squads.
I was going to say, I think they're adding even more now. Let's just get it to the point where The Rock has to wear a 69 jersey. I think that's where we're all really the winners and beneficiaries here. Speaking of winners, Jesse, let's get to that in the world of tennis, as we rarely get to go and flex our GOAT debate wings over in that sport. But thankfully, Rafa Nadal decided to go ahead and give us the baton.
Yeah, so he did an interview, and he basically said, he was talking about Djokovic, and he said, I believe that numbers are numbers, statistics are statistics. In that sense, I think he has better numbers than mine, and that is indisputable. I think that with respect to titles, Djokovic is the best in history, and there is nothing to discuss about that. So that's pretty definitive, am I right?
Well, it's pretty definitive down one avenue is what it is. How many times did he say numbers? Basically, it's numbers don't lie. And by the numbers, he's the greatest player of all time. He has 24 Grand Slam titles. Rafa Nadal has 22, and Federer has 20. They're the only 3 with 20 or more. Federer's retired. Nadal has been injured. Djokovic is still going. But he really made it about numbers, because there's a lot of people that think Tiger Woods is the greatest golfer of all time, and he's short of, Arnold Palmer. Jack Nicklaus, as far as majors are concerned. By numbers, Jack Nicklaus is the greatest golfer of all time, and there are those that think he's the greatest golfer of all time, but there are a number of them that think Tiger is, who doesn't have the number Jack Nicklaus has. So this was purely, I think, a number play by Nadal.
I did appreciate that Nadal was just like me. Like, he didn't even entertain the Federer portion of things, because he's like, listen, numbers are numbers, statistics are statistics.
Yeah.
I'm better than Roger.
I'm second best. Yeah.
Even though, damn, you thought he'd go to bat for his boy when Roger retired. Nadal was there crying. They were holding hands. They were loving up on each other. Like, he couldn't throw his dog a bone once in this conversation.
I would have liked the conversation, somebody to ask him, okay, take numbers out of this, just you and Djokovic. Who do you think overall all time is a better player, taking numbers out of it? Seeing how he would answer that one.
Yeah, you got to press him on that one. Maybe it's in the rest of the article that I didn't read. And as we learned with Justin Fields earlier today,
got to read it all.
You got to read the whole article. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, he's like, if you look in the fine print right after that, I said I'm clearly better than Joker. So it will be interesting, and this has been kind of the sum total of tennis on the men's side for a while now in my adult lifetime, has been these 3 players dominating the game. And I think for tennis, there was always this worry of, man, well, what comes after? Especially now, because like you said, Nadal's been hurt so much. Joker's not really, for most people, a sympathetic or likable figure. And so it hasn't been as fun celebrating as it was with Roger Federer, who was just the ultimate in class. And he's slinging Rolexes here and doing all the commercials. Everyone seems to love the guy. It feels like with Alcaraz now, we got another good chance at getting something special here going on in the world. And he's not even consistently getting all there, right? He lost to Medvedev in the last tournament, the U.S. Open there, didn't get to the final, but he's got all this ability. He's already accomplished a lot on the world stage here. And so it does feel like there's hope that they're going to be able to continue this.
We always say, who's next? We were saying that in golf about Tiger. We were saying that about, the 3 tennis guys here as they were getting older. Who's next? Alcaraz is next. On the women's side, who's after Serena? Is it Coco Gauff, who kind of made her entrance in with her first Grand Slam title at the U.S. Open. So at least we do have some young players notable young players, and there are more, not just those two, Alcaraz and golf, to kind of look to now to the future of tennis and men and women's side.
It's an exciting time.
Yeah.
If you haven't dipped in and watched these young folks
man.
go out here and
So
ball,
athletic.
That's the thing. Like sports are to me at their best when you've got athletes so gifted at the helm that you do not need to have a full grasp of the sport to understand how different they move. And with Coco Gauff and with Alcaraz, you've got players that absolutely fit that mold. So excited to see that for them. But Jesse, we also had to have a conversation about what these fine young athletes need in the world of sleep, because there is one player for the Toronto Blue Jays who is taking this above and beyond.
Yeah, if the numbers don't lie, then we have the undisputed GOAT of sleeping. Okay, Blue Jays pitcher Yusei Kikuchi left Tuesday's game with cramps, okay, right? And he said he thinks it may have been caused by only getting 11 hours of sleep last night. Only getting 11 hours of sleep instead of his usual 13 to 14. So he typically goes to bed around 11 p.m. and wakes up at 1 p.m. So, I mean, this guy is doing numbers on his pillows.
I am stunned.
He's got to be single, right?
Listen, without question.
He's definitely not a parent.
Well, he's definitely not a parent. I mean, if he is, that's trouble right there.
He sounds like a college junior.
It's exactly right, because there are two occasions where I could sleep for 13 to 14 hours. One is when you're a newborn.
Yes.
Right. And when they're sleeping well, we certainly know it doesn't happen all the time, but that's when you have the best chance of getting that long sleep. And the other, right, is when you're ungodly drunk and have a hangover and you just are staying in bed. I remember at Notre Dame occasionally, I would wake up right before lunch ended at the calf at 2, just so I could get in and get sort of absorption in my body. But those aren't me trying to. There are reasons for 13 to 14. This dude is trying to do it every single night.
I see. And you hear all the time about like sleep debt. Because when you talk about that drunk sleep, you're not sleeping very well. Your heart rate's really up. Like it's trash sleep. This guy, sleep debt all the time. That idea that if you're not getting enough sleep, that just rolls over and you're having to wear that all the time. If this dude is this dedicated, he's got to wake up every day with a brain like the movie Limitless when Bradley Cooper's doping with NZT. Like we only use 10% of our brain. I'm getting like 6 hours of sleep if I'm lucky at night. I can't imagine the speed that this guy's mind is operating on a daily basis. That's terrifying.
You guys, he's married with a child.
Come on!
Yep.
What?
Boom.
Yep. I need to know everything. We thank you for sticking with us today. We're going to do more research on this guy. Download, subscribe, rate, review. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you tomorrow.